Well, hello, lovely member zone. I've got a really lovely guest today. I've got the amazing Clara Hewson from the Muzzle Movement, and we're going to be doing something slightly off the beaten track with talking about OA. And hopefully, we're going to frame it so you're going to all have your light bulbs go off and go, I get why this is important. Because many of you are sitting there going, oh my goodness, I would never want to put a muzzle on my dog. Oh my goodness, why would I ever put a muzzle on my dog when they're telling me that something's wrong and they need to be able to communicate it? My dog would never intend to hurt anybody. So I know for myself, with looking back to Holly, it would have been offensive to me to put a muzzle on her because she was my heart dog, and it would have been offensive to her to put a muzzle on. But knowing what I know now and years later, the way that you can work as a vet when that unknown has been dealt with, you are yourself, you are less inhibited with handling, you can just get on with having that relationship without that little cheeky would you not. So for me it's really, really important with pain management, because we all know that when in pain your tolerance, your resilience and everything is lower, so therefore unexpected behaviors are more likely. So over to you, Clara. Introduce yourself. Then I'm
Yeah.
going to have a little introduction I've written here that I've stolen from your Kickstarter. And then we will go into some questions. So tell us all about yourself.
Perfect. Yeah, so I'm Clara. I founded the Muzzle Movement in April 2022, and I sort of ended up here by accident. I was originally working in rescue, and I'd spent most of my career really working with dogs that had significant challenging behaviours, both in rescue and I had them at home. And I
Yeah.
wanted to find a muzzle for my dog Tolly. And so I decided to share one on social media that I designed based on what I wanted for my dog. And then it kind of spiraled out of there. And since then, we've sort of manufactured 7 different sizes and they're shipped all over the world. There's 35,000 different dogs that are wearing our muzzles. And yeah,
I just don't even know how that starts. Like,
yeah,
yes, I went through a little product design process to create a dog toy.
yeah.
It's still on the back burner whether it will ever happen. You've made it sound very simple. It doesn't work like that.
No.
No.
I'm not a creative person. I don't have any experience in business or people management, or I just knew dogs. That was my
Yeah.
alley, my lane. And then yeah, it just kind of happened because it had to happen. Like I started and then I had all these people interested, and then I did a Kickstarter and I was like, right, well, there's 800 dogs now that are relying on me. And it's that motivation to provide something for those dogs, not the goal was never to get to where we are. It was just, well, I can help these dogs and I can help the dogs that I work with and I can help my dog.
But even just the design process, drawing something with pen and paper is very different to actually bringing something into fruition.
Yeah,
That's months.
I've had to learn so much so quickly. I still am learning so much so quickly, and I don't get it right all the time. So at the beginning, I think it was like this, I don't know, this belief that I could just do anything, and now I'm like, I don't know how I did it because I could not do it again. Like I couldn't
Yeah,
recreate
yeah.
that now.
Yeah, no, I like seriously. The Moroccan street dog's barking at the door. She has got to understand that I'm working. So if
Oh,
anybody's going,
I'll
why is the
start.
dog
Yeah.
barking? She's very demanding. I'm trying to let her learn.
Yeah,
Right, so I'm going to read the introduction. So,
sure.
after working in rescue for over 7 years, alongside dogs that often needed muzzles to keep themselves and others safe, we began to realise that many people were reluctant to utilise muzzles due to the fear of being judged, because muzzles often are wrongly stigmatized. The Muzzle Movement is a small startup business with just me and Tolly on a mission to spread muzzle positivity as far and wide as possible. We want muzzled dogs and their guardians to be celebrated. It's important to us that we create a community of dog lovers that are connected to one another through shared experiences and all support one another on our journeys with our muzzled dogs. And we wanted to be able to do it all brightly coloured. Who decided they needed to look scary? And that's so true. I'm still a little bit kind of caught in my head that you drew a design
Yeah.
only 3 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 3 years. And that was, yeah, that was Kickstarter was 3 years ago.
But
Um,
even how did you even think to do Kickstarter? You know, that's quite a
well,
brave move.
so I designed this muzzle for Tolly, and had the intention of this muzzle was for Tolly. So I'd gone out my way and I'd got, I draw on scraps of paper, and I found this person on Upwork who did CAD design, and I was like, right, this is what I want. It looks like this, and the dimensions of this, and here's the mock-up, and here's what it looks like. And she made a CAD for me, and I got it 3D printed, and then we sort of iterated it from there. And I shared that on social media, and I was like, wow, there's actually quite a few people interested in these, like friends, dogs that I was supporting in rescue. I had loads of friends in rescue, so they were
So
like,
the initial step was a friend of a friend type thing. So
yeah, yeah.
there wasn't exchanging of money where you had to kind of plan it and
No,
see.
initially there was no money. There was just me spending money to, design a product for my dog. And then I had lots of friends saying, what about me? Can you do one for me? And I was like, oh, there's too much going on here. And so I got like a startup support thing, like grant from the government, and they give you startup support. Yeah. And I had this call with this guy, and I was like, listen, I don't actually know what I'm doing here. And he was like, I think you should do a Kickstarter. And I called my mum, and I was like, he thinks I should do a Kickstarter. That's silly, isn't it? And my mum was like, that is silly. And the more I thought about it, I thought, maybe it's not silly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For people that are listening going, I don't really know what that means. Can you explain what a Kickstarter is?
Yeah, so a Kickstarter is like crowdfunding where you haven't got a product yet, but you promise them something. So in exchange for early payment, essentially, or backing, you promise them something way in the future. So in our case, it was if you back now, i.e. you pay 35, £40 for a muzzle now, in a year, I will give it to you.
Yeah,
Um, and it was an all or nothing. So there's different Kickstarters, but ours was if you don't hit this target, everyone gets refunded and it all goes back. Um,
yeah,
I had to do that because it costs so much money to make the tooling that if I didn't hit my target in the Kickstarter, it didn't matter if I'd missed it by 50 quid. I could not afford to make the muzzles, so I would have let everything
yeah.
down anyway. So
Wow.
yeah,
So
and
you would have lost out massively.
yeah, I mean, I invested quite a bit at the beginning, time, obviously, but I did invest funds at the beginning, and I didn't have that much to invest. So
No.
take it so far before we did the Kickstarter. And then once the Kickstarter had happened, it kind of rolled from there where I was like, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. So all of your sales were connections of connections, possibly social media,
Yeah.
and now you're actually in stores, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. So the Kickstarter, at the beginning, before the Kickstarter, sort of people were like, "Oh, I promise I'm going to pledge," blah blah blah. And so I knew I had a little pot of money from sort of people that I knew from the rescue industry. But what really surprised me was how many people I'd made connections with through Instagram, through the Muzzle Movement page, because that had been running for about 6 months before this. The intention wasn't to sell muzzles; it was just to teach people about muzzled dogs.
Yeah,
So a lot of people from Instagram sort of migrated over to my Kickstarter. And part of that was because we lost Tolly. And so a lot
yeah,
of people had they were really engrossed in mine and Tolly's story. And I don't think that was a sort of a perfect storm that I could not recreate now if I tried. So
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah.
We've got somebody join us. Hello, Lynn. Um, so that's phenomenal because a lot of people, when they're bringing any product to market, they have a game plan, Clara.
Yeah. Not
Don't want to break it to you, but there was a game plan.
No, there wasn't really much of a game plan. It was more these dogs need these muzzles, and I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to do these. The goal was never I'm going to launch a business and sell thousands. It was I'm going to give these 800 dogs their muzzles, and then we'll see what happens. Because I still had a
Yeah,
full-time job. I loved my full-time job. I didn't want to quit. And so I was like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I've helped 800 dogs, and then I go back to rescue, and I
yeah.
live happily ever after.
So let's go back to this helping dogs, the trigger, So what were you experiencing then? Because you said you had the social media page up 6 months beforehand. What was the scenario that motivated you?
Yeah, so it was Tolly. I adopted Tolly when he was 7.5 years old. And he was from Dogs Trust. He was part of the Freedom Project, which is where you foster a dog on behalf of someone who's fleeing domestic abuse. And you're fostering them long-term foster, sort of 6 to 8 months is the expectation they set. And his family couldn't have him back at the end. And he was mine at that point, he'd integrate into my house and I couldn't imagine him anywhere else. But he did not like other dogs and he didn't like other people.
Right.
Um, and I think a lot of that came from, lack of experience, but also quite an aversive environment that he was
Yeah.
spending a lot of his time in. So he wore a muzzle a lot of the time. He was wearing a muzzle. He did actually bite somebody in the pub. That was a whole other saga, but yeah, he wore a muzzle pretty much every time we left the house because if there was people and there was dogs, we were in trouble. Uh,
Yeah.
and I could not find a muzzle for him that did everything that I wanted it to do.
Okay.
He was wearing a muzzle at that time, and he was really, really foody, and he was struggling to get food through the muzzle, and he would
Yeah.
smash his face into my hand, and he was like, "Give it to me." Um,
Yeah.
and so I knew that I needed to improve the treat delivery, and I was really worried about him in hot weather. Like he was really struggling to cool down, and I was like, I can do that, and so I did.
So were you also experiencing other dogs in that, you said that you literally went to a 3D printer with Tolly in mind, but did you have like catalysts happening all around you with other dogs in?
Yeah, so I was a senior training and behavior advisor at Dogs Trust. So I was working with some of the most challenging dogs in Dogs Trust in the southeast, and I was traveling around all of those centres and supporting the in-centre training teams to come up with sort of risk mitigation training plans, sort of integrating dogs into the home. We were dealing with some quite serious incidents, dogs that were going through court systems. So I was muzzle training and teaching the skill of muzzle training pretty much every day because it's a really important part of mitigating risk.
Yeah.
Um, so muzzle training was a really frequent skill that I was passing on to other people, and and adopters were quite often put off by a dog that
Yeah.
had a muzzle. If there was photos of dogs wearing muzzles on a website versus dogs that wasn't, it was the dog that wasn't that would get the interest, not the muzzled
Yeah.
dog. And we were getting, adopters who were saying, I don't like it. If they were adopting these dogs, those dogs would have incidents in the home. And then we'd say, well, he should have been muzzled. That was the agreement that we had, that in this scenario, i.e., when your mates come over and they're all drinking and the dog's loose, there needs to be a muzzle on. And so, yeah, I just felt like I needed to do something to change the public's perception of muzzles so that the dogs that I was putting in homes would stay in homes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And so just because my ignorance, that must be really hard to rehome any dog with bite history or
Yeah.
that's a phenomenal feat in itself.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, the dogs that I was working with, the vast majority had some sort of bite history. And I think a lot of dogs do have bite history, but quite often it's sort of brushed off, it's like,
Yeah,
oh, yeah, I mean, sometimes he nips my dad when he comes over, but it's not
yeah,
serious. So I think
yeah,
there's more dogs that are having bite incidents than we realize a lot of the time.
yeah,
But yes, it is really challenging, particularly if they've got, a bit of a rap sheet, to have those conversations and try and explain, well, in this scenario, it could have been avoided by a baby gate. It could have been avoided by, moving away, removing the dog, don't taking it to, not taking them to big social groups with other dogs.
yeah,
But yeah, it's really, really challenging. But there are some amazing people out there who are willing to sort of empathize and understand and look at the full context and sort of understand, okay, yeah, I understand that happened because the dog had, was experiencing significant discomfort, or, there'd been aversive history around this specific thing.
yeah.
But, putting those dogs in homes was risky. It's always risky.
But
Um,
putting any dog in any home in a different environment, we don't know how they're going to behave,
That's it. And I think that's why muzzle training was such an important skill for me to make sure the adopters were on board with, because it's a skill that they have in their toolbox. It doesn't actually matter whether the dog bites ever, but that might be because that dog is wearing a muzzle. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so do they do muzzle training for all adoptees? Or is it
Mm,
only those with
Uh,
history?
yeah, I mean, the dogs that I was working with were, the dogs that had really complex, challenging behaviors. A lot of dogs in rescue, if they're green, we would call, which is dogs that are nice and straightforward, they'll be in and they'll go out, and I would never have even known they were there. Um, But the dogs that have been there for longer periods, the longer you're in rescue, the more behaviors you develop due to being in rescue. You've got, you're really stressed in that environment, unfortunately. Um, you're not getting as much human interaction. You're around
Mm.
hordes of other dogs. So the likelihood of there being a scenario where a muzzle is needed, i.e., the vet teams and rescue are brilliant, but dogs are coming in and out all day. There's not the time to set them up for success. It's get in,
Yes.
get out. So even just that, if a dog was there for 6 months, they might have seen the vet 6 times, and they've been in, out, prodded, poked, out. So
Yeah.
yeah, even just for veterinary handling in a rescue context, the majority of dogs that have been there a long time do now require a muzzle as a consequence of these rushed, quick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's the perfect springboard into why we're having this talk. Because I was just thinking to myself, I need to explain to the audience because it does seem to be a bit of a tangent. And we're obviously an organization that's promoting all of this positivity about, think about their emotional health, cognitive health, think about the bigger picture, be holistic in your care. And suddenly I plonk in muzzles and people are going to be like, I think we're going the wrong direction. But it's totally not in that you just summarized first opinion practice. It's not just vets in shelter.
Mm.
It is first opinion work. And unfortunately, everything is time limited. And however much compassionate handling and considered handling and time and space and, as you say, set them up for success you would love to do, it doesn't happen.
It's not always possible. Yeah.
No.
It doesn't have to be awful either. The experiences don't have to be awful. It just has to be lots of them sometimes. So it's not,
And it does, yeah, and it doesn't, as you say, it doesn't need to be awful at all.
yeah,
It can just be their interpretation of the situation, isn't it?
yeah, that's it.
And then I know with my own behavior, when you start having the signals of, I don't want you to continue, you're really torn because
Yeah,
you've got a caregiver that's maybe driven half an hour, they've waited maybe 20 minutes, they're ready for you to give a vaccine or to look at a lump or inspect their ear. And there's you going, my brain's saying, no, I've got to give this dog space. But my other side of my brain said, I need to get this done because dog needs care, caregiver really wants it done. There's 10 people waiting. So for me, having much more of a positive mindset about, I'm just going to plonk a little muzzle on you while we just do this.
yeah,
I'd love it to be like that, but it doesn't tend to be like that. It's, as you say, got connotations, it's got taboo, it's got inference, isn't it? If I say to a caregiver, I have to be really careful how I say it. If I say, hey, hey, it's obviously really uncomfortable, this situation. We're time pressured, you're time pressured. I think what will make everybody behave less inhibited and communicate to him something to be feared. If we're less inhibited and we're like, yeah, it's fine, he's going to relax. And the way we can achieve that is putting a little muzzle on. Yeah, I know that they come with bad press. We've got no bad press here, have
yeah.
we? So, in itself, I'm having a massive conversation. So, to make it more mainstream would be wonderful, really.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think that a lot of the time, sort of professionals are the people that are having those conversations. That very few people really are going out and being like, I think I should muzzle my dog now. Quite often it is they've been advised by a professional dog trainer, someone in a clinical setting. It might be someone in rescue, but those people having that initial conversation, it's really important that we do it as early as possible so that if we do need it later down the line, if we do need a muzzle, the skills are there. And it's not
Yeah,
like, I'm going to pop the muzzle on now and the dog is going to visibly show you that they're distressed, because that's the last thing that we want. Is
yeah,
the human already has a perception that this muzzle is going to be bad or uncomfortable or aversive. And quite often the first experience of a muzzle, if done in a stressful situation, they're absolutely right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think about it, like I feel socially uncomfortable admitting what does happen in vet practices. And as you say, because of all the other social limitations and challenges, you end up holding on to the little handles and you scoot it round and you quickly clip it behind the ears. And that dog's thinking, what the hell's happened to me? I've just
Yeah.
had all my opportunities to control myself and express myself have gone. So
Yeah.
you'll be pleased to know, you'll be pleased on no one hand and disappointed on the other. I was prepping the agenda the other day and I was like, right, I need to get one for Elsie. And again, I'm being a bipolar owner. I'm convinced that Luna would never do anything, which is really bad because I shouldn't be saying that. Elsie, the little Moroccan street numpty, I can see her and she would potentially snap. So I
Yeah.
went onto your website, but I don't think I measured her nose properly because it said it didn't have her size in, and I was like, she's got a really long snout. I'm sure
You'll
she
have to measure
has.
it. Yeah, we can help you. But I think a lot of people feel the same. Like I have a small, so I have three dogs currently, and I had Tolly before. And Mia is my smallest. And she's always been uncomfortable around children. She's always been uncomfortable around people and always not liked balls and balloons, which usually come with children, which makes children even scarier.
Yeah.
And I never muzzle trained Mia. She's 13 now, and only now in the last year is she muzzle trained, and she should have been muzzle trained much earlier. But
Yeah.
again, like I was like, yeah, but she's only small, and what could she really do? Well, it doesn't actually matter what she could, the damage she could cause. The muzzle in Mia's case is telling people to leave her alone, which is all she wanted to do in the first place. So now I've
Yes.
kind of saved her having to communicate that, and instead it's clearly she would like you not to touch her now. Um,
Yeah.
so
And I
yeah,
think it's, as you say, it's a mindset drift in that I'm fighting it in my own head at the moment because this is kind of a new concept to me. In that I want Elsie to be as comfortable socially as Luna. That's my want, that's my wish.
yeah,
And I know that Elsie isn't. She finds it more challenging. Even though I've had her like since 5 weeks old, scraped her off the motorway. But she is of that personality, and I really do need to embrace getting her muzzle trained because, as you say, if she was to react, she's telling them to go away, and a muzzle will do that for her. But then I worry that if people see her wearing a muzzle, they won't even attempt to socialize with her, so she doesn't get to learn. How do you handle that?
it's really challenging. I think it's a double-edged sword with muzzles because we want muzzles to be both. We want muzzles to signify that that dog is not a bad dog, but at the same time, there are lots of dogs that wear muzzles that do need you to give that dog space and move away and perhaps cross the street. So we have to find this really balance between advocating for muzzle dogs and showing you that muzzle dogs aren't bad dogs because they aren't, but not so much so that everyone goes up to every muzzle dog they meet on the street and go, "Oh my God, so cute, love your muzzle." So it's like teetering on a knife.
Yeah,
But for us, what my preference is similar. I've got a Bulgarian street dog. She is not great with other dogs. I people will, they will give us space, and I can then decide whether we're going to have this interaction or not, based on the human, based on the dog, based on the environment, based on her experiences that day. And I can say, actually, come on over, say hello, or I can just carry on with my day and be like, yeah, not
that's a
today.
really good point. That's a
Yeah.
really good point, isn't it? At the moment, it's like confessions of a sinner here at the moment. I feel, feel like I'm talking to judge and jury in one go. I'm back at my parents' house temporarily. They're in the middle of kind of nowhere. So the routes and walks that we do, we meet the same dogs that she's friends with all of them, but that still isn't an excuse. I should be much more on it. And Maui, the other dog that we brought back from Morocco, who has turned into a Malinois, which is yeah, wonderful.
Surprise!
It started off as a ball of fluff, about 4 weeks old in a gutter, and just kept growing. And there's a difference when she barks, and yeah, that's quite terrifying, in fact.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that muzzles, I pick and choose when I muzzle Nelly, who's my dog that doesn't love other dogs. She, if we're somewhere really rural, and I think at the moment, if a dog came up, we'd probably be fine. You
Yeah,
know, she chooses to move away. She just wants people to leave her alone, dogs to
yeah,
leave her alone. And so she would move away. One dog, if they were to pop up, she would be like, "Thank you, I'll move out the way." But if
yeah,
there were two, if there was three, or if we were walking somewhere where we're likely to see more than one, she'll have a muzzle on. And that's because
yeah.
one, people will give us space. Two, I can choose then. I can take the muzzle off. If she's had a nice initial interaction with the dog, I'll be like, cool, muzzle's coming off now. I believe that we're not going to end up in, a dire situation here. So it's not like once the muzzle's on, it's still flexible, even when it's on the
Yeah,
dog's.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
similar in a sort of treatment context. It can be on for a period and it can come off. It's not like it's got to go on and then that's it for the rest of the session. It's okay while we do this bit that's particularly painful or particularly uncomfortable, it can go on, and then we'll take it off again and we can have a play and we can have a sniff and have a
yeah, yeah. Well, I know what's just happened is that there's been an advert that says 8 gone
eight.
out, and
Yeah.
there's also been an advert that's gone out that said 7:30. So
Yeah.
that's no harm. We will kind of recap for the people that are just joining us. It's almost like it's the gift that keeps giving, your Facebook Live. It started in China and it's
Yeah.
continuing into the UK.
Yeah.
So just for people that are joining us now, it was supposed to happen last week. I woke up at 3:30 in the morning in China with my phone ringing saying Facebook Live starting. I was like, it is. It's not. So the lovely Clara agreed to put it back a week, which is great. What we've just been talking about is her initial journey, and we'll do a quick recap.
Yeah.
Summarize from the time that you decided to do it, set up the muzzle movement. Actually start with the 6 months prior, your muzzle movement social page. Then just quickly reiterate what your triggers were and
Yeah.
how you've got to where you've got.
Yeah, so I worked in rescue. I had, all of these dogs that I was supporting in rescue that had really challenging, complicated behaviors, and I was supporting their adopters as well as having a muzzled dog myself. And I couldn't, I was struggling with the perception of my dog and the public's perception of dogs that I was trying to help them adopt. And I felt like the best thing I could do to support the dogs in my care and my own dog was to just make a muzzle that did all the things that I needed a muzzle to do, which
Yeah.
was deliver treats easily, be bright and colourful, and being able to pant. And then I launched a Instagram just to talk about muzzled dogs, and I shared Tolly's muzzle on there. And then it kind of spiraled and it ended up in a Kickstarter, and now there's 35,000 dogs all over the world wearing our muzzles. So
I just sit there.
that's a
It's
quick wrap.
when you go, oh, and then there's 35,000 dogs.
Yeah.
You've made 35,000.
Oh yeah, but yeah, at least 35,000. We've had 35,000 orders, and some of those orders are 6, 10. We had a 300 muzzle order go out this week. So we're way past 35,000 muzzles out in the wild now.
That is amazing. So, okay, do remind people that haven't listened because they haven't been here. It started off with a pen and ink on the back of a fag packet type thing.
Yep. Yeah, yep. It was a scribble on a piece of paper with a picture of my dog printed, and I'm like, right, this bit goes here, and this bit goes here, and this bit has to measure this much, and yeah, it started off with me, piece of paper, hiring some random, very very useful person on Upwork, and said, make that a reality, and then 3D printing it.
This
Which
is,
3D print either. I found someone that 3D printed. I was like, you come here.
I
So
love it. And that was with the sole intention to make one for your dog.
yeah, that was all for Tolly at that time. It was, I need to do this for Tolly. And then that got shared on Instagram because I was like, look what I've done. This is cool. And then it spiraled from there. Yeah, it was, I want one. Now I want one. And yeah, 800 people in 30 days, £46,000 raised, and it never slowed down.
So, where do you get them manufactured?
So they're all manufactured in the UK. It was important to me, I think, because I didn't want to go abroad. I really wanted everything to be as sort of sustainable as possible, particularly because the basket is plastic.
Yeah.
Um, Even though it's not single-use plastic, it's really important that I'm also not, flying or putting it on a boat.
Yeah.
So yeah, manufactured in the UK, but the baskets come to us without straps, and then we make and assemble all of the straps ourselves in-house.
You do.
I mean, I did at the beginning. I don't anymore. But yeah,
Okay.
for the
Where's
first,
that happen?
well, for the first year, it was in my spare bedroom. So I did, I was at Dogs Trust 9 to 5, and then I was up in my spare bedroom from 5 till 11, and I did it every day for a year. uh,
Oh my God.
yeah, then we moved into a unit, and I hired my first team members, and then we outgrew that unit twice. We extended it, and then we ended up just having to move, and now we are where we will be for a little while, I think.
And
And we're
where's that?
that's Melton Mowbray, which is Leicestershire.
Oh, right, I know. Uppsala Musculoskeletal Clinic is up there.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yes, it's a whirlwind because I'm not actually even from here. I ended up here because of Dogs Trust, and then I stole all of my friends from Dogs Trust. I was like, come work for me, and now we're a team of 11.
11.
Yeah, Dogs Trust Loughborough hates me because they're like, stop stealing my stuff.
So what does your team of 11 do? What's your
Yeah, so like I said, I mentioned at the beginning, I kind of consider us split into two halves. So we've got the manufacturing side, which is, we make and assemble every muzzle by hand, and that takes five. That's five team members. And they are making and assembling every muzzle and, processing all the orders and supporting all the customers. And then we've got kind of another five, which is me. Plus, we've got Annie, who does a lot of like community outreach. She does a lot of building relationships with professional organizations, sort of getting us talks to speak to as many people as possible. Then I got Becky, who does product design. So she's pretty much always working on what the next muzzle will be based on feedback from the community.
yeah,
And then we've got a business analyst who's just an intern, but she's just been offered a full-time job based on her internship.
yeah.
Uh, and then we've got customer support, which is huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I should imagine the customer support because your website's dandy. Who's
Oh,
heard that word for a while? Dandy.
again, built it. Like,
Did
did
you
what I was
really?
doing. Yeah. 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 The
Do you
I
what? You're a lady of many talents.
the amount of things I've had to learn is crazy. I could do so many things after this if I wanted. I'd be like, come on then. Throw anything.
Yeah.
I got it.
Seriously, the website looks super pro.
Oh, thank you.
How long
Yeah,
did that take you?
I mean, it's since the Kickstarter, it's evolved. But the originally we didn't even have a website. We just had a Kickstarter, and that was it. And
Yeah,
even for the first 8 months after the Kickstarter, we were still taking orders like the old school way. It was like we had this post Kickstarter platform, and it took me 8 months to build the website at the beginning, and it's just kind of slowly been upgraded over time. And yeah, I've had to be
it's
like, okay, well,
very
I don't
good.
have to solve this, so I guess I'll chat GPT it. Like, I don't know.
Well, seriously, the design of the website is it's very accessible, it's very engaging, it's very user friendly.
Oh,
Like even well, I obviously measured Elsie's nose wrong, but I like the fact that you have a tape measure on there, don't you?
yeah.
So you've got a sliding bar. So there's me doing this over Elsie's nose and then going
Like this, I think.
like that big.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people do. It's not only
Oh,
me that
no,
does they.
no, no, no. The photos that we get sent on customer support, it's like one biro wide or like
Yeah.
half an A4 piece of paper. I'm like, what is it?
So is that where that sliding bar came from?
Yeah, yeah. I think for us, sizing has always been I mean, it's so hard to get right because you've got so many dogs with so many different face shapes and they move and they wriggle. It's not like you're measuring, someone that you never measured. It's not like a human where you can say, hold still, keep your foot there. Dogs aren't going to do that.
No.
So measuring is really challenging, and we know that that's something that frustrates a lot of people. So we want to make it as simple as possible, and it's still not easy.
No, 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 no.
End game is I learn how to develop an app, and then you and then you point your phone and it measures your dog's head for
Oh
you. That's
my
the end game. I just
God.
want who can develop apps.
I wouldn't put it past you to have that up next
Yeah,
year.
but I doubt it'll be next year. Catch me in 5 years, maybe.
It's amazing. So okay, let's play with talking about the muzzles and the features of the muzzles and the variety that you've now got. Then we're going to bounce back again to talking about muzzles when we should be using. Then we're going to talk a little bit about how to muzzle train. And then I'm going to put you on the spot at the end and ask you questions about arthritis and whether you've got any top tips.
Go for it.
Okay, so let's talk about the muzzles themselves. What are the key features that were really important and what sets them apart?
Yeah. So for us, the two things that motivated us at the beginning was being able to pant. So panting is not just something that dogs do to regulate the body temperature. It is something that's really important to be able to sort of cool themselves down. but it's a really important way for them to communicate as well. So a lot of, we can tell when dogs are in feeling stressed because they do pant, they yawn, they lip lick, all of this really important communication that's happening that in a tightly fitted muzzle we're
Yeah.
missing.
Yeah.
And then, in a tightly fitted muzzle, if we are missing, then there's other ways to communicate happens, i.e., I try harder, I growl louder, I snap, I
Yeah.
try. So it's really important that dogs are able to do all the things that would be normal to them before a muzzle, just with a muzzle on.
Yeah.
Uh, and that includes things like eat, drink, vomit. Um, so for us, it was those things. It was being able to deliver food easily so that we didn't. What I was struggling with in rescue was I was working with these dogs that needed a muzzle because they were in this really stressful environment, surrounded by other dogs. So they were walking muzzled a lot of the time, but it was it was muzzle on or train. I couldn't easily train and have the muzzle on when I've got a dog that's, doing an amazing job of looking at another dog or not barking. And I'm like, hang on 1 second, I've just got to get this snack up through
Yeah.
and post it through your mouth. So that for us, those two things, it kind of grew from there. And a lot of that I can't take credit for. That was the community giving me feedback on Tolly's muzzle, saying, yeah, but what if it had a bigger nose hole so they could sniff more? And what if the straps were
Yeah.
proof? And yeah, it grew from there. But initially it was make sure that they can do all the things that are normal and be safe and
Yeah.
train.
So how does it, for people that haven't seen the muzzles, what's our big distinguishing features about the muzzle movement muzzles? Because they're obviously a lot bigger
Yeah,
so that you can actually open the jaw.
yeah,
So they look like they've got quite a big underhang, isn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah, we get told a lot of the time, don't you think that that's too big? And actually, the dog answers that in that are they able to open their mouth fully? Can they pant? Can they maybe not yawn all the way, but can they yawn? Can they
Yeah.
drink?
Yeah.
And quite often, will the feedback that we get is actually muzzle training is easier because the dog is less restricted, because they're able to take food quick, food isn't being delivered frustratingly.
It's normally like a toothpaste, the liver paste,
Yeah,
isn't it? And they
through
wedge
the
it
side.
into the gap and
Yeah.
they're like, "Ugh," and
Yeah,
it's,
I didn't
yeah,
rescue. I was cutting the front out, because I was like, well, I'm going to make my own treat hole.
yeah,
So I was putting the square out at the front and being like, there you go, this is your squeezy cheese hole.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean that the treat hole is a big feature of ours, which benefits sort of clinical settings more than I'd realised at the beginning.
yeah.
Was it's now used to extubate. So we have lots of dogs that are quite high risk that wear our muzzles.
That's amazing. You didn't even know that that was
Uh,
a perk.
No, that was actually a vet tech that rang me and was like, "You will not believe what I just did.
Oh
I've
my
just seen
God.
this dog in the vets that they've been unable to handle because he was unsafe when he came round from sedation. So they would have to sort of take the gamble between do we wake him up now? Do we not wake him up now? Do we
Yeah,
take the tube out too early? What are we going to do? So quite often they would take the tube out early. They'd take him to the kennel, sedated, give him his reversal, take the tube out really early, sit on the other side and watch him breathe and be like, please, 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 please. And they'd just done it for the first time where they could give him his reversal, pop him in his kennel, leave his muzzle on, take the tube out when they were ready, and then
do you
what?
know what? The gods have been smiling on you
I
because I didn't even think of that one. But
no
it's,
way.
oh,
Yeah, that was someone that took what I'd done and thought I know how to apply this to this specific dog again, like someone doing an amazing thing for just one dog. And I was like,
yeah.
because that's benefited me since with my large bully, where he's been extubated through his muzzle whilst he's come round from being sedated. So yeah,
It's and syringe feeding,
yeah,
anything like that. It's medicating,
yeah,
being able to access to the mouse because we're trying to put a syringe or a pill popper inside. Phenomenal. So with them being bigger,
yeah.
I would worry there's more pressure on the nose.
Yeah. So ours are actually lighter weight than the other most common muzzle that's in the UK. So it's hard to compare really because theirs don't have pant room. So if theirs were our size, they'd be even heavier.
Yeah.
But ours are pretty lightweight for the size they are. And that was because of the material that we chose, which was something that I thought about at the beginning was I do not want my dog to have additional weight on his neck. And,
Have you got a diploma in plastics as well? Where did
no,
this come
I mean, I
from?
have now probably. I could probably sail through a manufacturing degree, but
That's insane. Yeah, so you chose that. And I've seen there's a strap almost that goes across. Is that to try and stop some of the...
Yeah, so there's we've got this sort of nose band, which sort of means that the plastic isn't coming into direct contact with the nose, which means that it's a little bit more comfortable. And then we do have sort of a foam padded option, which makes it even more comfortable if dogs have, sort of quite thin skin or sensitive noses. So yeah, but the weight was something that was really important to us at the beginning because a lot of dogs that I was muzzle training, it's actually the weight that they don't like.
Yeah,
They'll hold
yeah.
their head quite low and they'll be like, ooh. Not
But then
only
the thing is, if your
like,
head's low, then you're having to really force your eyesight.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that was important to us, and yeah, Tolly had sort of mobility issues and stuff, so that was important for me to be like, no, I don't want something that's going to be heavy. So the muzzle that he wore was actually lighter than what he was wearing before, even though it was bigger.
Yeah. And also, like we talked about earlier about being in pain, your resilience and tolerance is lower. And I just think about myself. When just something doesn't feel comfortable,
Yeah,
and it drives you insane, and I'm just thinking that if their tolerance and resilience and everything is just, low anyway because they're in pain, having something, even if it isn't, yeah, you want to make it as comfortable as possible, don't you?
yeah, that's it. As comfortable as possible, which partly is the fit, but equally it's the way it's introduced.
Yeah,
Um, so if we could make that introduction process easier by making sure that the muzzle was as comfortable as possible, because the more comfortable the muzzle is, the easier muzzle training becomes. It's kind of a double whammy, I suppose.
yeah,
Um,
definitely. And also the plastics, like I'm still obviously, the practices that I've worked at, they have that really horrid sharp
yeah,
plastic. It's unforgiving. It's not softened. There's sharp edges to it. And I thinking about it, when dogs are not liking wearing it and having their nose pressed at the end, or when they're fighting against it and they're bashing into the end of the muzzle. But it's a really unpleasant plastic, isn't
yeah,
it?
that's it. Yeah, I think for us, I mean, it's really, I mean, I know why they've done it. It's so hard to manufacture anything that has soft edges on the inside, right?
Oh, is
Like
it?
the battle that we've been fighting since the beginning, and we bevel the edges as much as we can, make it as soft as we can. There's always going to be some dogs that like smash their face into rocks in the floor, and you know, yeah, I think the rock probably could have done that, but yeah, it's a really, really big battle that's taken us a long time to understand, and I can see why other muzzle manufacturers are like, this is a too difficult problem to solve because we
Yes.
from our first version, which was the Tolly, we've released 7 versions since then. And every time the insides get smoother because we've learned something about the manufacturing process that we didn't know the time before that.
Yeah.
So
Amazing. And what other features you talked about, like the waterproof straps and stuff like that? So they biothane or...
yes, the straps are biothane, which means they're super easy to clean. One of the things I didn't like about Tolly's is we would get primula everywhere. Like he was
Yes.
like, "Ah, blah." And so he would get primula all mushed into his muzzle straps, and then it would just be gross, and then I couldn't clean it, and then it would smell.
Yeah.
Uh, Wanted to make sure they were easy to clean, and that is important in a clinical setting so that they can be used between different dogs and
Is it
customers.
dishwasher proof?
Yep, you can dishwasher them. Yeah.
I love that. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah, yeah.
And
The
then
same
you've got, sorry?
the same material our muzzles are made of is the same material that you make Tupperware, but also the same material that you make replacement knee joints. Like it's that sort of fine in your body, fine out your body kind of. I mean, plastic's not.
Oh my God, you do have a diploma in plastics,
No,
don't you?
no. I was like, I found the manufacturer and I was like, so my requirements are
Oh my
non-toxic.
God.
It has to be able to be washed easily, blah, 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 can't melt. Blah. Anyway, so my manufacturers had the knowledge then. But yeah, it's just asking the right questions, isn't it? Like, here's what I need, go find it. So
And then what about the colours? Is it a simple choice? Did you just go to a beach hut array of, the pastel pinks and you're like, I'll have that one or that one, that one?
colours. I mean, Tolly was always going to have green. That was his colour. So green was a given. That was a non-negotiable. But the rest of the colours were picked by the Kickstarter. So what we did throughout the Kickstarter is when we raised X amount of money and a new colour unlocked, and then the people that had, pledged got to pick what colour came next. And it kind of made
Ah,
the Kickstarter into a bit of a game where like people would pledge and then they get to pick a colour and maybe they could have the colour they wanted. And So
Do you know what? I didn't know what to expect from tonight, but I'm literally buzzing inside
oh.
about how exciting this process has been for you, but also how you've just taken it in your stride.
It's not always been in my stride. Sometimes it's been like
Are
crying
you
under the.
on
But
pills?
yeah, not anymore. But I definitely there is times XL Bully Band. I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Oh
let's go on to that next. Let's just finish off about the muzzle design and like the practicality, etc. And you said it comes in 7 different designs now.
yeah.
And those
So
designs are for the different face shape, and there's
yeah.
different sizes within each design.
Yeah, so unlike traditional muzzles where it's one shape and it's just sized up or down. So
Yeah,
I you've got one size and the size bigger is bigger in width, but it's also bigger in length. So it
yeah,
might be you had a dog where it couldn't pant in this one. It needed the size bigger to be able to pant, but that also meant that it was longer and wider.
yeah,
So each of our sizes is not just a size bigger of the one below. It's either wider, longer, shorter for the individual face shape that we were trying to
yeah.
cater to, which is why the design process takes us such a long time. Why prototyping takes us forever. Um,
I wouldn't say forever. You've been going for 3
it feels
years.
like forever.
That is not very long. Some products take years to come to market.
Yeah, that's true.
So no,
Not the world that I live in, but yeah.
no, no, you can put that one to bed. So now let's kind of like take a little step back and the XL bully ban, because that's obviously been a huge emotional toll on everybody. How's it affected you guys?
Yeah, so we sort of heard whispers of the bully ban, which was sort of the September before it happened. I remember I was in like a NatWest accelerator learning all about business, and yeah, and I was on my phone and I saw it pop up, thinking about an XL bully ban in the UK, and I was like, no way, like there is not muzzles suitable for this size of dog, there just isn't, and if they're going to be forced to wear a muzzle all the time, then that muzzle best be a muzzle that provides them with all the
Yeah,
things they need. Fortunately, we'd already kind of been working on a bully size because a lot of our customers were in the US and there's lots of sort of pity bully types in the US. So we were like, right, quick, like this has got to get over the line as quick as possible. And so we pulled this bully size together and it landed at our unit on Christmas Eve. It was the day before Christmas Eve, and we worked 12-hour days from Christmas till New Year to get as many muzzles out as we could so that when the bully ban, the muzzle law began, which was the 1st of Jan, well, it was the 31st of December, um, as many dogs had their muzzles as possible. If we could have done it differently, we would have, they would have had them for ages and they'd have been muzzle training
yeah,
months in advance because a muzzle isn't something you can just slap on day one of getting it. Uh,
no,
but yeah, the stress, yeah, I didn't see my family once that Christmas. I was like, bye, guys.
it's not
Yeah,
happening.
my partner, he was a chef, and I was like, when you're done chefing on Christmas Day, you get you get
Yeah,
her.
oh my God.
Yeah,
That's how you get things done.
you get a
Um,
dog we didn't apply for. Yeah. I was like,
so
you're hired.
do you think that is a big part of your client base?
Yeah, I would say so. I think we have 2 sizes that are suitable for bullies now, and we obviously have 7 in total. And the other 5 sizes equate to what the 2 bully sizes are in
Yeah,
popularity. And that's not just XL bullies, that's just bully breeds because there aren't many muzzles out there that fit bully breeds. They've got such
no,
big, chunky heads and relatively short snouts.
yeah,
So there were before us, there wasn't many options available, particularly in the UK.
no,
So yeah, and that again, like the intention was not to set out to sort of serve bullies, but that we had small designs in our back pocket. We were like, we're going to do small breeds because we want to make sure we're super representative. And I was like, pivot.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, definitely. Okay, so now we're going to move on to muzzle training because we've already been talking for like an hour, and I'm conscious of burning you out. So we've got many listeners now, and what kind of advice would you give? Go through your teaching schedule in miniature.
Yeah. So if I was thinking about muzzle training for the first time, I actually wouldn't worry too much about the muzzle at the beginning. And I think that makes a lot of people jump because they're like, yeah, but you sell muzzles. Like, surely you would want them to buy one. And I'm like, no, they could start muzzle training with anything, a yogurt pot, a plant pot, a pot noodle pot, a cardboard
Yeah.
box. Literally anything can become a muzzle if you want it to be. Um, so my first like step to muzzle training is investigating novel objects, like having the confidence to go and touch something that might move or put your face in something that's unfamiliar. That is muzzle training as a skill, is, the ability to explore with your nose different things. And then from there, it would involve a muzzle on the floor, probably. So a lot of people, they muzzle train way too quick. And what happens when you muzzle train too quickly is you end up doing it twice.
Mm.
So you end up rushing it, and then that dog finds that muzzle aversive, and then they're reluctant to use it again in a scenario that's potentially really important.
Hmm.
So taking it slow at the beginning, and some dogs will sail through. Like some dogs will be like, I'm super confident. I don't mind putting my face in anything. But there's lots of dogs that aren't that way. There's lots of dogs that don't like being handled around the face, or potentially they do have pain or discomfort, or historically there's been pain or discomfort. So giving those dogs the time to be able to explore it at a pace that is comfortable and safe and enjoyable is
Yeah.
a really important step that the majority skip over. And sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes a muzzle has to go on, but then we've got quite a lot of work to do to make up for that cash we just withdrew from the piggy bank when there was nothing in the piggy bank.
Yeah.
Um, so we would start with, muzzle on the floor, because a lot of the time dogs have, if they have experienced a muzzle before, like you mentioned before, it's been whipped on from behind.
Yes.
It's, usually associated with human hands. So that would be on the floor
And
initially.
do you put food in it and you like resting it in a position that they could?
Yeah, so it depends on the individual. Like using food is a fine balance in the early stages, because if that's a dog that's particularly fearful of the muzzle, we're just going to end up creating conflict in that I really want that food, but that thing is so scary. So at the beginning, it's like sniff it, like have a
Right.
look. What is it? It might be that I put novel smells around it. It might be that there is a bit of food scattered around, but that depends on the individual. If they're super foodie and they're not even paying attention to the muzzle, they're just like food, 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 food. I probably wouldn't, because I want them to look, I want them to experience, I want them to see, I want them to notice the
Yeah.
muzzle. So all of that happens before there's even a muzzle in my hand. Um,
Amazing.
yeah, and then once we start lifting the muzzle, that's when it starts to be like, that thing is going on my face. Are you sure? So then we would probably start to use food, but again, it's we aren't using food to make the dog put the face in the muzzle. We're using food to reinforce exploration of the muzzle. So
Yeah.
it's the muzzle's in my hand now and you're going to put your face in it because I've got a treat at the end. Instead, it's the muzzle's here. Do you want to have a sniff? Do you want to have a look? Oh, amazing. You did such a good job. Food, food, food. Before we get to the point where it's like, now put your face in.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people think muzzle training is hold the muzzle, put your face in, let's go. But that, the first few sessions of muzzle training where it's like at your own pace is the most important part of muzzle training, because it's the ability to control what's happening to your body. And that's
Yeah.
all dogs want at the end of the day, is autonomy.
No, I love it. I love it because you're also framing it in a way that people can do this. This isn't difficult. It's patience. How long would you say it takes? Like if you had a classic case and you could set a timetable how you would like to do it, what would that look like?
Yeah, I mean it varies on so many things, but typically I would say I could muzzle train a dog in 3 weeks. However, I'm doing lots of little sessions every day. That dog is physically well. That dog's food motivated. They haven't had aversive experiences of muzzles before. We aren't in a setting where there's pressure to get the muzzle on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's so many variables, and I do genuinely believe like every dog should be looked at as an individual, so that, okay, well, one of my dogs, he has historical ear stuff that has happened. So doing the straps up for him is going to be a slower process than it would be for Nelly, who's never had a medical condition in her life. Uh,
Yeah.
so it really does make a difference. That
But even you just saying 3 weeks with no reasons not to engage, I'm really glad I asked that question because there's going to be so many people thinking that it's something that they could just nail in a couple of days.
no, yeah,
And I'm really actually really pleased that I said that
yeah,
because it's really changed my expectation as well.
Oh, good. Because, yeah, I think for me, muzzle trained is a dog that is not just putting their face in a muzzle. I could teach a dog to put their face in a muzzle in a session, but are they
Yeah.
happy? Are they comfortable? Are they going to be able to do it when it really matters? Are they going to be able
Yeah.
to do it in a veterinary practice? Are they going to be able to do it when they jump, they're jumping out the boot of the car in an emergency? So for me,
And when you say like your words then, when they are, will they do it? Are you getting to the point that they will volunteer?
yes, yeah, yeah. So I
Right.
think when I hold my muzzle down to any of my dogs, I want them to opt in. I want them to
Yeah.
be cool, yeah, good things happen when this is on. So it's not always possible. Like there's always going to be some factor, particularly at the moment when muzzle training isn't that, common. It's not that common of a skill. Where it's like, yeah, but you've got to get muzzle trained by X deadline because the dog needs to be sedated because they're in pain, or
Yeah.
the dog needs to be muzzle trained by X point, otherwise we can't treat them anymore. And
Yeah.
it happens, shit happens. So it could be done quicker, and it's not like that dog has to be like, I love this. Sometimes like compliance is okay. Like it's fine. It's the best we can do is a dog that's not trying to rip it off their face
Yeah.
when XYZ is happening. But for me, muzzle trained is a dog that is comfortable doing normal, natural things. They can communicate properly. They're comfortable taking food. They're comfortable moving in a way that is normal. Because there's no point in, bringing a dog to an assessment and being like, right, now we're going to have you walk on a treadmill, but you're going to have to be muzzled because the risk. And for
Yeah.
them to not walk normally, it, you know,
No, I just think this is it's phenomenally good advice. I think you're managing people's expectations and ambitions because there will be a number of people that think that muzzle trained is the dog kind of just stays there and the whites of the eyes show as the muzzle goes on and they tolerate it and they're not protesting, so it must be muzzle trained.
yeah.
You're actually saying that dog goes, yeah, all right, mate, come on then, I'll put my head down for you.
Think if we are expecting that dog to be, particularly in a situation where they're potentially going to be touched, restrained, or uncomfortable, the least we can do is ensure that the muzzle isn't contributing to that discomfort.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So the very minimum that we can provide that dog with is the only stressful thing that's going to happen to you in here is the actual stressful thing. Um,
Yes.
instead
No, I
of
totally agree. Because I was just thinking about Luna and a different concept. So we swim every day, and she's got a rough and tumble coat with her name on the side. And she actually comes to me to scoot it over her head. So I'll just be like, Luna, do you want your coat? And she'll come over and she'll kind of get her head ready and I'll pull it over her body. And she wants,
yeah.
well, she's certainly saying I haven't got a problem with this. So
Yeah.
it's the same kind of concept. And I'm quite lucky. Elsie doesn't come back at all. She's an ass. But she will let me put her lead on. If I say, come on, Elsie, we're going for a walk. And she'll come over and wait for the lead to be put on. So it's not I'm having to go to her
Yeah.
and she has to stand still and I do it to her. She's part of the decision making.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's really important that they are given the choice because that's,
Yeah.
all dogs want is choice, and they have such little choice in their lives, really.
I love you saying that. Right. So, oh my God, I just kick off on this now because it's so true, isn't it? We are so much of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We control the majority of the decisions they get to make. And even if it feels like a decision is, do you want to go left or right? Like they didn't choose to be there on that, they didn't choose to go on that walk.
I
Um,
agree.
yeah, if all we can do is say like, are you comfortable doing this? Yes, let's go. And making sure that the consequence of being comfortable continues to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Uh, so I have a bully breed. He is exempt. He has to wear his muzzle every day. He's had to wear his muzzle every day for over a year now.
Yeah.
And if he did not opt into his muzzle, I'd be like, okay, well, we aren't going today. Like that's fine. The motivation to wear your muzzle isn't there for whatever reason. Is there something painful? What's happening? Are you not feeling well? And I think it's the same way as if you decided to suddenly not like his harness. I'd be like, there is something wrong here,
Yeah.
that means that he's not
I
comfortable.
just I just love this. It is like an epiphany moment for me. I'm really enjoying. I want to help you get into the vet sector. I just think it's so blinking important. I've got a real problem in that a lot of the merchandise that you can buy at vets is shit.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
utter tosh. And I
Yeah.
just sit there thinking this is a clinical setting and these are supposed to be clinically beneficial tools.
Yeah.
And the products that are available tend to come via just a mainstream kind of like shipping, distribution center. And
Yeah.
then they're not the top of the range. They're very much what's available in the on the shelves. And they're the old brown Baskervilles.
Yep.
Um, just out of interest, obviously the webbing ones you want to cut into million pieces. Yeah,
Yeah, so occlusion muzzles we would call them, or Mickey muzzles, as most people would probably know them. Yeah, I mean, definitely have their uses, right? We're not saying everything needs to be gone at all times. Like post-jaw surgery, super important that we
yeah,
have like Mickey muzzles that exist. It might be in a really, significant emergency, that might be the only muzzle available. They are
yeah,
portable, they can be folded down really small. If I was going hiking, you know, Atlas would be muzzled, but the other two probably wouldn't. And maybe I would have a Mickey muzzle in my back pocket in case I had to carry
yeah,
them down the mountain. But it would, a Mickey muzzle is not a muzzle that is to be worn in any scenario apart from an emergency. Uh,
yeah.
just
My
because,
friend had the tip of a finger bitten off for a Mickey Muzzle.
yeah.
So yeah,
I mean,
they don't allow like a bite, but they can still get
allow a
quite a
nice,
good nip.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we try really hard to make sure that everyone understands no muzzle is bite proof. Like we would never claim our muzzles will prevent bites 100% of the time. And that's because it depends on the individual. It depends on how persistent they are, what scenario they're in, how much pain they're in, the size of the dog, the fit of the muzzle. And we get a lot of pushback for that because a lot of
yeah,
people, but isn't the whole point of a muzzle to prevent a bite? And I'm like, yeah, prevent a bite, but not to guarantee that you're not going to get
yeah.
bitten. The responsibility of not being bitten lies on the humans in the room, making good choices and making sure the dog feels comfortable and safe. And sometimes shit hits the fan. Like,
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just, I'm still reeling that you managed to pull this off in 3 years. I think that's just absolutely phenomenal. But I'm now, because we've been going for a while. Sorry, guys, if you thought it was 8, but you can listen to the recording. Um, right at the beginning, I said that I am going to put you on the spot, and we're going to try and talk about arthritis and muzzles,
go
chronic
for it.
chronic pain and muzzles. And what we kind of decided to do was use your wealth of knowledge because you're not just a muzzle expert, you're also a dog trainer, you're a senior dog trainer, Dogs
Yes,
Trust.
yeah, I was a senior training and behavior advisor, but I do have a master's in clinical animal behavior.
Oh my God, she could just piss off.
That was
Plastics expert.
that was like before.
I don't know how you do this.
I don't
It's
know.
making everybody in the room feel really
No,
inferior.
no, just winging it.
Ah,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, so I'm not going to help you then. I'm going to say I challenge you to think of 10 tips, short, really useful information that you can give to our caregivers about managing arthritis with your level of expertise.
Perfect. Muzzle related stuff. So,
You can drift, but
okay.
well, you can blow me away. You can really show off now. I need 10
No.
OA and muzzle related tips.
I could probably merge the two. Um,
Perfect.
So my one top tip would be if we have a dog that has a chronic pain or any chronic pain, would be that we introduce a muzzle as soon as possible, even if that dog has no history of aggressive behavior at all, because eventually you may. Dogs age, they're
Yes.
uncomfortable, they're being put through stressful situations, and if that muzzle is a tool in your toolkit way early on, the later down the line when that treatment is so important, this dog
Yeah.
is it's we cannot miss a physio session this week. We can't skip this. We need Librela, we need XYZ done when it's really important that we have that pain managed. If you then need a muzzle, that dog's not getting
I totally like
it.
I mean this from the heart of hearts. I totally believe that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I've been restraining the dogs on the other end when I'm like, this has got to be done now, dude. Like, it's
Yeah.
this or suffering. It's this or poor quality of life. So yeah,
And I definitely think that it'd be nice to work with you again in the future and how we can challenge these mental kind of barriers. Because I've got emotional barriers about seeing Luna in a muzzle. Not Elsie. Elsie can have one. But because Luna's my princess, 6 years, we do everything together. I couldn't imagine that she would do anything but be perfect. I'm your worst client
Yeah.
on the Luna side, and we need to talk more about this. Okay, number two.
Number two, if you have a dog that has chronic pain in specific areas that are relative to a muzzle, similar to what you would consider with a harness, i.e., the harness has to fit comfortably. We don't want to be putting pressure on joints that we shouldn't be.
Yeah,
Similar with a muzzle, in that if we've got a dog that has discomfort around the neck, we need to consider that when we're muzzle training. We want to make
yeah,
sure the muzzle is as comfortable as possible, but also that the training is done in a way that is not going to cause more pain and discomfort. So when I think about whipping those muzzles on super quick from behind, I've done it a million times in rescue. Sometimes it's just got to be done. But if that dog then is so determined to get that muzzle off the face that it becomes dangerous, not just for the people in the room, but for the dog of themselves, the risk
yeah,
of injury there is so high. They're slipping, they're panicking. It's a
yes,
situation. Injuries will occur in that scenario.
yeah.
Um, so making sure that we can introduce a muzzle nice, slowly, gradually, and taking into account previous medical conditions, take longer doing the straps up if there's neck pain, you know, simple.
I love that one. I love that one a lot. Number three.
Number three, right, I'm going to try and think of something non-muzzle related. I suppose I'll talk from experience. So I have a 13-year-old dog. She has always been like super active. She's like a terrier cross. She's busy. She doesn't look like a terrier cross, but she behaves like a terrier cross. And the thing that I wish I'd done earlier was put rugs all over my hard floors. Like now she's 13 and I'm like, my partner moves them. He's like, why is this here? And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and she comes in
Yeah,
with,
I'm going to add to that because I've been doing more teleguidance appointments, which I love, by the way, guys. If you're listening in, I did the best one this week. I absolutely loved it because it flowed like clockwork. But the good thing about teleguidance is I get to nosy in people's houses because the video's on, and the amount of people that will write on their form that the house has got rugs down, and I'll catch a glimpse, and the kitchen won't, or the hallway won't. And I'm living at my parents' house intermittently. £700 I've spent on rugs when I moved in. Came back, having been away for 10 days, and they've moved them. And I'm
um,
watching Luna's legs slick out, and I'm like, ah! So
yeah,
no, do it with vigor, isn't it? Put those
yeah.
rugs down.
Get the rugs down. Yeah, that's one of the things that I wish I'd done earlier. The second thing I wish I'd done earlier was steps up onto the sofa. So she's so used to jumping onto the sofa now that actually she will jump onto the sofa and hit her chest off the sofa because she's not got the power in her legs to lift herself up.
Yeah,
And so I wish I'd introduced her to steps earlier so that she wouldn't, even now with the steps, sometimes when she's excited, she'll still throw herself at the sofa. And I'm like, use your step, please. And I just think that's a skill. She's had 13 years of jumping on the sofa. And now I'm like, don't jump on the sofa. Use the steps instead. And she's like, don't get it.
well, that's a real story after my own heart because the amount of times that I've encouraged caregivers to get a footstool, a steps, and the dog will jump around it and do more harm, and you're sitting there. I'll never forget Fletcher. I have to tell you a story because it's a beautiful story. So Fletcher was I believe he was around about 11-year-old German Shepherd, so he was pretty old and cranky, and he was gigantic. He had his own sofa, and he would occupy both double seats. He was a big shepherd, and he was really having difficulties getting onto his sofa, but it was important to him. So we had to try and work out how to make it happen. And we were looking at things that were on the market, and he would try and climb around it, and you're like, ah. So we got a carpenter to make a wooden full sofa length step. And then we got a throw that he was very used to being on the sofa, and we folded it so it was like a throne. So he would step onto the throw covered step and then onto the sofa. He was a game changer. It was
Oh,
just one of those things that was so important for him.
yeah,
Um, and we accommodated, we camouflaged it. These things are really, really important.
yeah,
How do we? It's difficult though, isn't it? When do you start introducing them? Because all of us have got it won't happen to me, it will never happen, but unfortunately it will.
Yeah, I mean, I've known that Pig, I call her Pig, her real name, her birth name's Mia. But yeah,
I
yeah,
hate it when you call your boyfriend.
yeah, no, she's been called Pig ever since I adopted her at 2, but Mia is the name that she was given, I suppose.
Fine. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but I've known that she's had arthritis since she was probably 5, and I should have introduced the steps then. Like
yeah.
I knew better, but because she was able to jump on the sofa, and because my partner's like, they're so ugly, it took us ages to get steps. So, and now I'm like, now look, she can't even get on the sofa anymore.
It is really tough. And like, will be honest to everybody at the moment, I'm really trying to make sure that I pick Luna up into the van and out, but I'm forgetting, she's still super agile and she kind of flows up in one movement. And I'm like, no, 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 this is something I've got to attend to because there's going to come a point where she's going to throw herself out the van when she's not able because yeah. So we're all the same. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm really grateful that you brought that one up. Okay, you're on number 5.
Yeah. I suppose this is one that I learned from rescue. Like, if you're not sure, film it. Like, if you think that there is something that is not quite right, film it. If you feel like they're walking differently, jumping differently, moving differently, just film it. Go
Yeah,
take it to the vet and be like, what do you think?
yeah.
Okay.
And on that note, there is in the member zone a owner resource of how to get good photos,
Oh,
and the same concept for videos,
yeah.
because the amount of videos that we get where it's
Yep.
and you're like, I'm sorry. Oh, it's
Yeah.
the ceiling, window, floor. Where is
Yeah.
the dog? But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely videos is a great idea. And you can slow-mo them. So you can
Yeah.
slow them right down. I use them a lot with teaching. So if I say, oh, did you see that abnormal gait or that poor positioning? And people are like, no, it's like, oh, I get it. Love that. Okay, keep going. Number 6.
Oh, it's getting harder now. Right, 6. Let's have a think. Okay, again, probably from rescue. If there are dogs playing, it should be managed. If we have, so I have 2-year-old, 13-year-old. They don't play anymore, but he's way past adolescence now, and she's told him off enough times for him to be like, don't. Um, not that I want her to tell him off, that's not her job. But when they were younger, managing that play, Pig will play. She will play, but it doesn't mean that she should play. Not as much
Yeah,
as he's playing. So enforced breaks, lots of rest, teaching calm behaviors around each other, so that we're not spiraling into this, rough housing silliness that ends up in injury. I mean, she literally would play until her legs would be like, see.
thank you for bringing that one up. I think that's so good because I often feel like I'm the fun police when I'm saying to people, look, allow them to experience it, but don't kick the shit out of it. And it's
Yeah.
a bit like taking them from a full menu to a tasting menu.
Yep.
You still get great pleasure out of it, but as you say, they're not escalating to the point that all of their neurochemicals are driving the consistency past what the body wants to do.
Absolutely. And my young dog would, my young dog is like, go, 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 prod,
Yeah,
poke. And without sort of enforcing the rules, we would still be there now, he'd
yeah.
still be like, go, go, go. And she'd be like, I'm trying. So,
I would love the public to be able to understand that. It's not hard for people that have children because children will keep going. They go overtired and they
yep,
kind of get more wound up and they'll keep going beyond. Not that I've had children. That's as far as my child knowledge goes. It
I'll say,
stops
yeah.
there. I'm stepping into muddy
Yeah.
waters. Okay,
Um,
number 7.
And I think it's a really important skill for all dogs, but particularly when they're younger, to learn to walk over different textures, different things that move, things that change under their feet, so that in the future, if they ever need, to walk on a treadmill or physio, whatever, they're used to different textures, different things in their environment.
Yeah.
Um, the same as muzzle training, I say exactly the same thing. It's novel object exploration, like that skill. of the confidence to try new things,
Yeah.
it's so it's overlooked a lot of the time. When
I
we're
l love that again. It's another good one. You're going to come back and do more of these.
I
I,
don't know, another 10.
you're going to run
Like,
out.
while you're
Um,
talking, I'm like, what else have I got in here?
I'm helping you out. You've got time to think. No, that's a really, really important one, isn't it? And being able to cope with change, I guess, is something that we understand when in pain. Your ability to cognitively and emotionally handle change is limited. But yeah, and walking over different surfaces, having different challenges. So introducing the idea of basic home rehab, which might be a step, a foam wedge, a wobble cushion, isn't like the aliens have landed.
Yeah.
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 I think I'd love to add to that one also being comfortable being handled everywhere has
That was next.
so was that your next one? Are we telepathic?
I was
Shit,
like, got it.
sorry.
I know what I'm saying next.
No. You take it then. Take it, take it.
Well, the ability to be handled everywhere, the being comfortable, confident, and being able to consent is a
Yeah,
really big one. So being able to opt in and opt out of that handling. It's not possible in every scenario, right? Sometimes things have to happen, but at least if the dog is saying, I'd like to opt out now, we can say, right, we're going to have to cut 5 minutes off, or, we're going to have
yeah,
to give them a break and start again. So being able to be handled everywhere comfortably and be able to say, no, thank you.
yeah. No, I think that's so, so important. And quite often I'll find that a lot of caregivers will say, oh, yeah, he doesn't like his paws being touched. And I'm like, that's going to be a
Yeah,
problem. It just with foot care, examinations, t towel drying, all of these sort of things. And you're just like, actually, I'd rather that I had indications of pain. I don't like my feet being touched, rather than I don't know what this means.
yeah,
But there's a lot of history to a lot of their concerns about their feet being handled. I've very much changed about my feelings towards nail care. I feel that we should all be doing it with magnifying glasses and the sharpest implement in the box, and it's almost like a surgical procedure. I look back on how I used to clip nails, and I'm a bit ashamed of myself, really. You
yeah,
know, um, Doing any of the dog's nails, it's very consenting.
yeah,
It's very positive. It's a well-lit environment. It's just chipping away. It's making sure I've got my glasses on. There's not
yeah,
going to be something that they're going to suddenly move their foot. I've totally changed how I feel about nail care.
yeah.
Wait till I go back into practice in 2 weeks. They're going to get really annoyed with me, aren't they? Number 9.
Kind of following on from that one. So before I did all the things that I've done, I was a groomer. And
Shut up. How old
yeah,
are you?
I'm 30. Yeah,
I
well,
my face. Shut up.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Just
You've done a lot in your 30 years. You obviously started at 6.
yeah, well, I was with dogs from like 13, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was a groomer from 18 to 22 before I went to uni, as well as working in a boarding kennel. But yeah, so grooming, one, similar to what you said, like aversive grooming experiences will spoil their experiences, or, physio or, any physical handling they have after that point. So it's really important that you find a groomer that isn't going to push your dog further than what they're comfortable, particularly if that dog has a painful condition. Because if they're saying
Yeah.
stop, that hurts, not only are we creating aversive experiences for the future, but we're aggravating a painful condition, an already painful condition, potentially.
Yeah. Again, I'm totally with you. So I had a lovely chat with Stephanie Zuckerman from the
Yeah,
Holistic Dog Grooming Academy this morning, where Cam's been invited to speak at her conference. I think it's in September. I'm not sure. I
yeah,
think it's August,
yeah.
September.
We've had
And
chats with, I
she's going
think
to be on a podcast soon. I'm going to have to get you on our podcast too. But again, grooming is seriously overlooked. I've had a number of dogs that have been on a finely tuned kind of pain protocol, lifestyle, the weight control, the pharmaceuticals, the physiotherapy, and a trip to the groomers has just fucked it.
yeah, Yeah.
And it's not that the groomer did anything wrong, but the dog obviously was pretty stressed, stood for a lot longer, lifting in and out, all of these things was just too much for them.
Yeah. Yeah. When I think about how I used to groom, um, partners home, so they're all going to kick off now.
I was okay.
Uh,
Let it
uh,
go. Let it go.
yeah, crack on. But yeah, when I think back of when I was grooming, I think how stressful that was. For me, the reason I left was I hated seeing dogs in that level of distress, but that's because I felt similar to you, the pressure to get it done, the pressure, they've traveled, they've paid, they're here to get their dog groomed. They're not here to get the dog half groomed. They don't want to come back
No.
tomorrow. So yeah, the pressure to get it done even at the expense of the dog is yeah, it does a lot of that harm, really.
No, and I just had a little flashback. I get flashbacks about Holly still all the time, and it's been what 2019 she passed. And I found she was a border collie, so she didn't have much grooming during her life. She didn't need to, but as she got older, um I wanted her to be groomed properly, and I found the most beautiful groomer who was based in Southwick near Brighton. And she would have her friend come and groom with her on the days that she had the geriatrics in, because she wanted them always to be held by a person that could accommodate their needs rather than being expected to stand or any of the hoists and harnesses. And to me, that was just the most important thing. So yes, find a good dog groomer.
Absolutely.
Are we at number 10?
Yeah, this is the last
Oh
one.
God, it got make it good.
I don't know if it's good, but I'll say it anyway. So scent work. So
Oh
if
yes.
you've got a dog that is limited in mobility or um, you know, unable to play with other things appropriately, I suppose. Scent work is it's one of the most overlooked and underutilized activities that we can do with the dog that's so fulfilling. That they love to use their nose. That's how they explore the world. So, you know,
Yes.
slow, steady, at your own pace. Doesn't even have to be other dogs around. It can even incorporate muzzle training.
I think like so if I say scent work and was stocks and shares, I would be investing in scent
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
What with what we learn now about young dog OA. So just for anybody that's mildly interested, being it's an OA facing it live, um, the vet profession do not know what to do with young dog arthritis.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking I'm going to have to quit CAM and get a real job because it's just not growing into a self-financing entity. And I'm just sitting there going, no, no, hold fire, because young dog OA has got to have lifestyle medicine, which means, having coaching about exercising, having coaching about the hobbies, the habits, the routines, having coaching about managing your expectations. So I think Cam will have a real kind of like, hopefully, a great trajectory in the next few years, because I know working in the vet profession, no vet knows how to talk to somebody with a dog with arthritis at 18 months.
Yeah.
No one knows what to do with non-steroidals. Do you use them pulsatile? Do you use them as and when? Do you use them long term? So we've got a huge knowledge gaps. So scent work to me offers still that excitement, that freedom, that bond, that exercise that I'll see a lot of caregivers that got a dog to go hiking. They really don't want to give up on that idea and they push back, really push back. But when you bring in the idea that they could do long line scent work in forests and stuff, I think that's going to be something that they're going to sniff at. But I really do think, like stocks and shares, I think, you know,
It would be
it's
there.
it's
Yeah,
going to be there.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I've loved this evening. I didn't know what to expect today. I didn't know whether I was going to get told off because of last week. I didn't know whether you were going to be grumpy.
No hard feelings.
I just need to read this message to you because I think it's absolutely beautiful. Mortified to have missed severe arthritis pain in our 5-year-old collie, presenting as anxiety and noise sensitivity and resulting in a human bite when the person leaned over his head. Our Tolly Muzzle has been incredible in keeping him comfortable on walks, allowing a pant and an occasional treat. Living with a bite risk is so hard, but your muzzle movement has given us some relief amongst the anxiety. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm
Oh,
almost
yeah. I
tearful.
was about to say when you read Tolly's name, I was like, "Boop, that's me done."
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? It's just like, I don't know if it's perimenopausal or whether it actually, but you just, this is why we do it, isn't it? That is why we do it. So, Clara, I'm absolutely blown away by you. I'm so glad that you came and did this Members Own Life because you've just inspired me so much
Oh,
to
thank
just
you.
start pursuing dreams and ambitions even more. I think you're an absolute inspiration. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you.
I
I've
still
never
can't
told
believe that you're
you
30. You're supposed to be
yet.
45.
I feel like I've lived 10 lives like that. Like it's, but I feel like it's always been where I'm supposed to be. I did this for Tolly, I lost Tolly, then I carried on because of all these dogs exactly, like that scenario. Like when Tolly's name pops up and they're like, it's because of Tolly, I'm like, oh, that's why I do it. That's why that's what
Yeah,
makes it worthwhile in the end. So
it's 100%, isn't it? And oh, who was I talking to? It was today. God, who was I talking to? Because of a dog. So many people's stories begin of I'm here because of a dog.
yeah,
And I feel truly blessed to be one of those people.
yeah, I
And
agree.
before we all get really tearful, I want to say thank you. Oh, we forgot to say that you're offering the discount code, aren't you, for
Yes.
anybody that feels inspired to get muzzle training.
Yeah.
Can you just tell the crowd, and I'll make sure it's in the
Yeah, so our website is www.themuzzlemovement.com and then the discount code is CPS10.
CPS
So
10.
yes, yeah, so that'll give you 10% off. But if you want a bundle for practice or to have, just reach out to info@themuzzlemovement.com because we have a trade scheme which will give you more discounts. So if it's just one muzzle, just
Amazing.
use CFS CPS 10, and if it's a bundle, just drop Annie a message because we've got we really want to make sure that the people that are on the front line have the tools to be able to support the people who are, you know, they've got so many things to think about. They don't need to worry about what muzzle is going to fit.
I love that. Somebody's put where is this? Let me just mention that to you. This is amazing, and you are a hero to my patients and owners, which I am now telling people about this. If I have more questions, do you have an email?
Yes, yeah. So my actual email, should you want to speak to me, is clara@themuzzlemovement.com. So feel free to email me. And if you want Annie, Annie does a lot of the sort of like we will go to places and give talks. We'll go to veterinary practices, we'll teach you how to muzzle fit. You can come and shadow us to learn what muzzles, fit different types of dogs. All of that stuff. Ask Annie because she does a lot of it.
Is it Samantha the vet from America? I know that we've had a new person join us after CPS. Yes,
Yes, it is.
it's you. Isn't it inspiring? It's Samantha. It's perfect, isn't it?
Literally, when I saw your lecture, I've been watching the bite-sized things again. Literally, the day I saw that just made me smile so much because you don't know my background. I'm a surgical resident at a specialty practice, and I work with, everything from a Chihuahua up to the biggest Great Dane. And it always, hurts my heart when I go to pick up a patient from the, waiting room. And people, owners, again, they look at the muzzle as something that makes the dog look dangerous. And I've seen where literally I'm going to get the dog and they literally are stepping away from the dog. When I know for a fact those dogs are the sweetest dogs on the planet. And what, a lot of times they're coming into us for bandage changes and things like that. And so we know that freaks them out. So their owner will put that on. We try to do, because we have more of that. I was like, what is a Mickey muzzle? I had to Google that, but I know it's the nylon muzzle now.
Yeah.
Because we have the nylon ones or the leather ones. And again, they're good, but we try to do like phones and stuff so it
Yeah,
doesn't restrict them. Because if we don't need them, I don't want them to get stressed out.
that's
But when I saw your muzzle, especially for clients coming in, I'm thinking, my gosh, if I had a client that was wearing that, that hopefully can then change the stigma. And then actually, one of your pictures actually said, like with a little heart on it that said, I'm scared. And I absolutely love that because I was even thinking, and I was going to ask you too, like I have patients that have eaten foreign bodies constantly. And now I'm telling owners, you might need to get a muzzle. And they're like, well, what do I do? And I literally don't know what to tell them at that point. But now seeing this, I saw one of the ones on there that had like the cover in the front. So I wasn't sure if that was what that's used for. But
Yeah.
I thought, my goodness, if I could have something like that for a client in vibrant colors and then tell them, say something like, I eat silly things, so I have to
Yeah.
wear this. Then again, it's not going to make the pet look like it's dangerous. It's actually one, changing the stigma, and two, working with the dog to do the normal activities, as you said. And three, that dog then is going to look not as scary to regular clients and hopefully change a lot of clients, points of views on muscles and things like that. So I want to thank you so much for how amazing that is, because I would love to bring that to the United States if I can.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you.
There you go.
I
American surgical resident loves you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that there's people that are like, actually this works, like that what you've done works and this is why. I'll just answer a couple of those questions. One, it is a scavenger guard. So the second biggest reason that dogs wear our muzzles is scavenging. So that's like in countries where there might be bait or dangerous items on the floor, or it might be that a dog has a history of eating inanimate objects, or they've had surgery and they cannot, or they're on a special diet. So it's really dangerous that they eat things they shouldn't. So scavenging is a really big use for a muzzle. So yeah, we do have scavenger guards for that reason. And then yeah, the sort of point you made about the perception of that dog changing, for me, I always think like there might be somebody else in that waiting room who's thinking about a dog that's there or a dog that's at home, where they're thinking, see what people think of muzzled dogs. Like you can tell people are avoiding this dog, and I just think they're going to go home and think there's no way. I'm not going to do that with my dog. So
Yeah.
if people are like, oh, why does he wear a muzzle? Just ask. It's okay to ask. Like I'm quite happy to tell you why mine wear muzzles, and it might be yeah, he doesn't like being touched by unfamiliar people, but you're all right. Like he's here safe. So yeah,
So with that, I am scared or I eat things.
yeah.
Have you got something that does stick onto the
So
muzzle?
we actually don't make them. There is a brand they're called Throw and Go. They make like ball holders, but they make the little badges that go on the side of our muzzles. And they're
Yeah.
a phenomenal small business, so we direct everybody to them. If I can,
Wow, love it.
I'm up for that. So
I
yeah,
love that.
they make tags that say like I don't like the bear or I eat poop or yeah, it's really
It's
cool.
almost like those things you stick in Crocs.
Yeah, it's a muzzle charm. That's literally what it's called.
It's
It's a
a
charm.
muscle
Yeah,
charm.
yeah.
Oh my God, I'm loving this even more now.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's some that's like, yeah, I eat stuff I shouldn't. Yeah. It's
This
nice.
is
You can sort of fill
superb.
in questions straight off the bat, like, no, I am not a bad dog. Like even if I have bitten people, that doesn't make me a bad dog.
Yeah,
So yeah, yeah.
perfect.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Sam, for piping up. Thank you for coming to another live. I'm fucking loving this. Sorry, language, but it's great to have people from over the ponds joining in because it's important to us that we spread this love, this knowledge. Clara, you're a legend,
Oh,
and I'll get Evie to try and get us on a podcast in the not too distant future. Please, guys, tell everybody you know. I will try and get it onto some vet forums over here. Maybe even share this interview and see if we can get other vets engaging in with this because it's important.
yeah.
Right, guys, until I think it's maybe a tea and chat next week. It's the beginning of the month, so it'll be me and one of the teleguidance team coming to do question and answers. So we will see you next week. Take care,
Yeah.
guys.